if you use a harness that goes over your dog's head and they are sensitive to that, and what I mean by sensitive is they move away or they run away or they show signs, symptoms of fear, then this is a technique that I like to use to get the dog to feel comfortable, first of all moving towards me, because that's what I want them to do. I want them to come towards me when the harness comes out or the lead comes out. And it gets them used to popping their head through a large space rather than going straight for the small harness. So the first thing, as always, we need to rule out pain. Check your dog's ears, eyes, head, neck area, shoulder area. If you're not sure, get it checked out by a vet, particularly in a case where the dog has suddenly become fearful or frightened of the harness going over their head. This exercise, I'm going to use Angus here, I'm going to use his kibble. So this is his meal food. So it's not extra food. All I'm doing is redistributing the food that he would have had for lunchtime to give him throughout the day whilst I'm training with him. And as with all of my techniques, setting the environment up is critical. If you don't do this, this will not work. Nice quiet area, nothing else going on, no dogs running around, no cats, no music, no TV. Set it up really, really calm. So all I'm going to do then is I'm going to hold the hoop here and I'm going to hold the treat through here. My hand, as you can see, is through the hoop, and then I'm going to move the hoop away. So the hoop comes down, my hand goes through. I'm not expecting Angus to pop his head straight through, okay? So, as in the other video I did, all we're doing is we're breaking down the movement of your dog popping their head through the hoop. So hoop comes out, hand through the hoop, let the dog take the treat, hoop goes back. Let's go again. Hoop comes out, arm fully extended, your doggy takes the treat, you remove the hoop back and it goes back there. And once we've done that, I'm going to just shorten my arm length. So the hoop comes out, still through the hoop, but just bringing the dog a little bit closer. Okay, I'm going to adjust my stance as well. Hoop comes out, so I've basically really just got my hand through at the moment, so not arm, not fully extended. Hoop comes out, hand goes through, reward, hoop comes away. Once your dog's done that, you can go to the next level. Hoop comes out. What I've done there is Angus has probably put about half of his head through. It depends on the sort of dog you've got, but he's got a long nose, so he can put half of his head through. So hoop comes out. There we go. I'm not forcing this at all, okay? I want the dog to come towards the hoop. Hoop comes out, takes the treat, hoop goes away. There's always a temptation to rush once we do this, but we've got to take this really carefully. So hoop comes out, there we go, and then I'm going to show you another level now. So the hoop comes out, head all the way through, careful when you take the hoop away, we don't want it banging your dog's head. Hoop comes out, I'm holding the hand out and the whole of the dog's head's coming through, and I'm removing the hoop carefully. Hold on, Angus. Once your dog's done that, you could, it depends on the severity of the case, you could then use a smaller one, a smaller hoop, so smaller circumference. Exactly the same technique. For me, this is a great technique because it takes away the fear that the dog may have of that particular harness. So we're removing that, and what we're doing is we're practicing with something that your dog has no emotional attachment to, no fear attached to that. But once we've done that, and then we've done that, we can then start to look at the harness again. So again, following the desensitization process and counter conditioning process that I did in the other videos, I would do exactly the same technique until we got the harness to the dog's head, and then there'd be a slight modification. So remember, this technique I recommend for dogs that are really quite fearful about having a harness popped over the head, and that's the route you want to go. And say there are options where you have harnesses that go on the side, perfect fit for example, but if you do want to have an over the head harness, then start with a large hoopla, and then you can move down to a smaller one. Key steps, remember, rule out pain. Rule out pain, you've got to do that. Set the environment up to make it as easy as possible for your dog to show this behaviour. If you don't do that, your dog's not going to succeed, you're not going to succeed, you'll give up, which would be a shame, because these simple steps, I would say to clients, think about how you would like to learn. What's the best environment for you to learn? Most people, not everyone, but most people would say, nice, quiet, no distractions, nice and relaxing. Well, for most cases, that's exactly the same for the dog. So do that, and you're going to get the much better results.